You're listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
All right, we got a mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hope you guys can hear me out there. We got pretty much a brand new setup here for Sweep the League. The orange headphones are gone. We've got the upgrade on the mic here. The mixer is in, guys, so we are about to start taking some phone calls. Hopefully by tomorrow, we'll be able to start taking some phone calls for everybody. That way you can call in to Sweep the League. The hotline will be live, hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, probably by Wednesday. So we're going to have you guys calling in just like a radio show, man. We're going to be the first ones in town to take them. We're not scared to take phone calls. You want to call in and dog us or whatever. You want to call in, make your points. You want to call in, tell us how much trash Spurs or whoever is, you do that. This is your show just as much as ours. It's a show by the people for the people. So it is, again, Sweep the League. It's another manic Monday. Of course, we had the NBA free agency is upon us. We've got Derek Gervin with us tonight, so we're going to be talking free agency. CP3 with the San Antonio Spurs. Tobias Harris is going to the Detroit Pistons. Klay Thompson is a Maverick, and a whole lot more. Paul George going to the Philadelphia 76ers. And the biggest move in free agency, Isaiah Hartenstein going to Oklahoma City. We're going to get all those topics here with myself and Derek Gervin. Again, go to the YouTube page. All you got to do is go to YouTube, search at Sweep the League TV, be a subscriber. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We just the 100 plateau mark. We're giving away something already. The guy, shout out to Harry. He was the 100th subscriber. We're going to send him something from MCS General Contracting, one of our sponsors, as well as La Cocina Taco Truck. So be sure to subscribe, guys. We get to 1,000 subscribers. Me and Gio said, cold, hard cash, basically. So let's bring in Derek Gervin right now. Derek, how you doing tonight, man?
I am doing fine, sir. How about you?
I'm good, man. It's been a hectic weekend already, and it's just Monday, man. Like, all of NBA free agency is just bonkers right now.
Hey, a lot of stuff going on, man. These teams trying to keep up with the Boston Celtics. So in order to do that, you have to make some moves, and you got to make them quickly.
Yeah, for one thing that I started wondering, Boston was my favorite going into the season next year. Obviously, probably a good chance to repeat, bringing the same guys in, possibly losing just Sam Hauser in the offseason. But seeing some of these moves, we're going to have to get into them because it's going to change the landscape of the NBA. And I think the NBA Finals is just going to get a little bit more interesting. Derek, you think probably Boston has taken a backseat to teams like Philadelphia, teams like Oklahoma City, possibly even the Mavericks adding Klay Thompson there?
I won't say that Boston's taking a back seat because they've already proven what they can do. When they rank, they rank it at 18th banner. I like what Philadelphia did with the Paul George acquisition, but we still have to see, what the rest of the roster is going to look like and who's going to be returning. We know Tobias Harris has gone to Detroit. But we still got to see what happens with these other guys. And as you know, it's about how you mesh. You can put any team together on paper, but you have to actually get that team together and see how they mesh as a team and see if the players are willing to come out of their comfort zones and do what's best for the organization and for the team.
Yeah, what I think the biggest move is the same one that you and I like, and we're going to get into that here with the Oklahoma City signing Hartenstein, but the Boston Celtics, I mean, they basically gave Jason Tatum his max contract. They signed Derek White to a very hefty contract and a very well-deserved contract. I think out of the East still, I kind of am going still Boston. I love the Philly move. I think Philly probably has one more move. I mean, they're going to get Paul George. They signed Tyrese Maxey to, a very lucrative deal as well. Embiid there. I still think they may have one more move in Philadelphia. I'm curious to see what else the Knicks might do. But out of those three teams, do you possibly see another team in the East that could maybe rise and give Boston, any type of challenge?
I think Indiana will have another year of experience. And we know that they got beat as bad as they did because of, injuries. So they're a team I'm still going to take very serious. Boston talked very highly of them. You know, they're a good team, but I'm more curious to see how this is going to work out with Maxey and Embiid and Paul George, because as we know, it comes down to health.
Yeah.
And Paul George has a history of over his 5 years playing with Kawhi. You know, they didn't play. They missed like 70-something, 80 games between them. And then you got Embiid, of course, who got hurt last year, and he's also had a history of injuries. But if they're healthy and they could put in a good core around them, that would be my team that I would think that would give Boston the most problems. And the reason I say that is mainly because of the guy who they got in the middle, Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Darth Odium, Lord of Abomination, one of our good friends here. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Sweep the Leagues. Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos Jr. says 76ers are the new Suns, too big to win. Tim Gonzalez has the power shifted to the East. I don't really know if the power has so much shifted to the East just yet. We've also got Seth Eliason here, USOA in the room, of course. I don't have the USOA shirt on, but I got to wear it for the next show as well. Also, Christopher Leja, he says, what's good, fellas? Back from my trip to good old Mexico. Let's get this show rocking and rolling, boys. USOA in the house. Shout out to Chris Leja, Derek, MCS General Contracting. Appreciate Chris and all the boys at MCS General Contracting for all you do for us here at Sweep the League. We've got a lot going to be happening with MCS General Contracting and La Cocina Taco Truck. So, FYI, guys, you're going to see a lot of these promotions starting to come up between MCS and La Cocina and Special Leaf Tea, who's also a part of us now here at Sweep the League. So we are growing, and these businesses are going to grow right there with us. I guarantee it. You're going to see a ton of marketing for these guys coming up here. So, again, go follow their pages on Facebook. Give them a like on X or Twitter, whatever it is now. Again, is MCS General Contracting, Special Leaf Tea, and La Cocina Taco Truck, all proud sponsors of Sweep the League. So, you know, Derek, the Eastern Conference, we're going to get to the Western Conference in a minute. The Eastern Conference here, you know, Tim had a question. Has the power shifted to the East? I mean, with the Oklahoma City signing today, Clay joining a Dallas team who just is fresh off an NBA Finals appearance. You're seeing CP3 come to San Antonio. Now, the CP3 to San Antonio thing we're going to get into later because it's part of the Spurs cheeseman and all that stuff that we're going to get into. But you know, we're seeing, you know, teams like Denver not really making that move. KCP's on his way out. I mean, you know, they're not really making their moves over there. We haven't seen anything from Phoenix. Can we say that the East is getting a little bit closer to being the more dominant conference right now as we speak in free agency?
Yes, right now, because I'm looking at teams like the Lakers. I think they still have some moves that they're going to have to make. And we still don't know about Phoenix. I don't think KD is happy in Phoenix. And so I'm sure that's something we're going to find out more about as we move forward. But if you look at it, yes, the East has become powerful basically overnight. Mm-hmm. And you look at these teams, Donovan Mitchell has re-signed with Cleveland. So I don't think he would have done that if he didn't expect Cleveland to be at least somewhere in the mix. And, I'm looking at the East right now. It's looking very good. They got a lot of good teams. I think Atlanta and some of those teams are still fringe teams for me, Toronto and those teams. But, yeah, I think we're seeing a little power surge in the East right now. How far it'll go remains to be seen, but I like what I'm seeing. That even includes the Miami Heat. I still think the Heat have another move or two to make. I like Tyler Hero, but really I don't know. With him and Jimmy as your two best players, I don't know how, I don't think they're really a team that scores a lot of points. And I think that's what's hurt them in all these years that they've, even when they went to the championship, they didn't have enough scores. But so it's still a lot of teams that are going to try to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. So we've only seen the beginning of what's going to happen. I think there are going to be some more moves within the next few days.
You know, what's kind of crazy is that we're talking about the East, but yet some of the, the dominant teams of the past couple of seasons, like Milwaukee's one of them. We really haven't seen anything from Milwaukee. And as a matter of fact, rumor has it that Brook Lopez is probably going to end up being on the move out of Milwaukee. So an already decimated team, in my opinion, because you lose Drew Holiday, you saw what happened. I mean, there was just no control in Milwaukee. If you go and lose a Brook Lopez, that's got to take them a notch lower than what they already were in Milwaukee.
they've been quiet. I'm surprised how quiet they've been because I know Giannis wants to redeem himself. The way they went out last year, and then with his injury, they've been very quiet. So maybe they're trying to put something together. They're still trying to see who's really available. We've seen KCP leave. Reggie Jackson left Denver. Alex Caruso left Chicago. Hardenstein leaves New York. There are going to be a lot more moves. I don't understand right now why they're so quiet in Milwaukee. And I know, to me, this is Doc Rivers' make or break season. So maybe they're trying to go for the home run, and that's why they're so quiet. They're trying to let some of this pass over. But we already know the biggest thing with Paul, George, and Clay and Hardenstein as far as the free agency. So I don't know. Maybe they're trying to put a package together where they can get another superstar, maybe like a Kevin Durant or someone. We're going to find out more as the days move on.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Tim Gonzalez on here. FYI, one day when you, Derek, and Gio are there, I'm going to call y'all, and y'all better be ready. I have another question coming soon. Tim's got all these old school basketball questions that we tend to get, and a lot of them are Spurs related. So, yeah. For those of you that are just joining the show, I appreciate everybody joining. This is Sweep the League. Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos, and your Coach Gio should be on here later on this week. We're getting upgrades, Derek. So I'm working overtime so that way I can get us some upgrades here. I've got a mixer in, so now we'll be able to take some phone calls. We'll be the first podcast to really go in and take phone calls like a radio show. So we're making it happen here. Sit Elias. Suns want KD out is what the reports are saying. And that's something that we mentioned before, Derek. I said that there was going to be a major rapture in the Western Conference, and Phoenix was going to have to move one of those guys, whether it be Booker and KD. It looks like it's going to be KD. All those talks to KD to Houston, I didn't really buy them so much. It just you're making Houston just that much tougher, but I think KD probably goes to the East Coast. I mean, if they're going to trade him anywhere, it's going to be to the East Coast.
Philly.
Imagine if the Hawks trade for KD. I mean, I don't know if he'd go to Atlanta. It would definitely screw the Spurs because I don't think they're a legitimate straight lottery team in Atlanta if KD goes there. So hopefully he doesn't go to Atlanta. But you're right. Philadelphia is the team that I have circled right now. And that's why I said I think they may have one more move left in Philly. They have a ton of cap space to play with. So possibly KD going to Philadelphia. What are the chances of we seeing that happen?
I think it's a good chance once he sits and lets it marinate because KD is still trying to improve his legacy. We know he's been compared somewhat over the last several years. It's been KD and LeBron and Steph. And KD is probably kind of taking a back seat more than the other two guys because of that move to Golden State. And he's never proven that he can carry a team to a championship. So that's the one reason that he might not go to Philly. And I hope people hear me. The one reason he might not go is because I can see him going to a team that he wants to carry. And for me, that team will be a team down there called the Miami Heat.
Yeah, the Miami Heat, man.
I think he fits with Miami very well. And I think at that point, you can still keep Bam at the center position. When you add a guy like KD, I could see that move probably more than Philadelphia just because I could see KD being the number one option. And I could see Jimmy Butler stepping aside and not minding being that second option and then Tyler Hero. So I could see him thinking about moves like Philadelphia. But when you look at that Heat in Miami, the name of the Heat, who doesn't want to be in Miami? Stephen A. Smith wants to be. I would want to be in Miami. I'm sure you wouldn't mind being in Miami. So, hey, they might throw a package at Phoenix. I can see that. I can see KT. I can see that where he would think about entertaining going to the Miami Heat.
Yeah, Christopher Leha, again, shout out to MCS General Contracting. My sources are telling me that Zach Collins is taking classes in learning Chinese, man. I mean, Spurs fans, they're kind of sour on Zach Collins. And like Darth Or John says here, Zach Collins wanted by many teams. Collins is a great player. Only Spurs fans hate him. You kind of get the hate from Spurs fans here and there. And, Zach Collins, we're going to get into Spurs talk here in the last segment. We're trying to keep everybody on the road because I see so much like negativity and I see so much positivity when it came to the CP3 signing. We got to break it all down. We're going to do that in the very last segment here for Sweep the League. It's Derek Irvin. It's Rudy Campos Jr. Again, go to our YouTube page. Derek, we hit 100 subscribers. We hit triple digits like we do in San Antonio in the weather. We finally hit the triple digits. Go to YouTube, search at Sweep the League TV. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Why? Because Gio said he's going to give some cold hard cash once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So that's the first 100. We need to hit another 900 or something more, 800 or something more.
Can I say something about that on the serious note? We joke a lot on here, but when you see guys, First Take, those shows, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times they tell things later on down the season, near March or April, they start telling you who are the better teams, and they started explaining why. So all of a sudden they get on the bandwagon, so to speak. We tell it like it is in preseason.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this is a show that's going to continue to grow. I enjoy being with you guys. I actually think we're one of the best shows around. And we want to be on television. I know I do, and I'm sure you do as well. So we can only grow. Hey, we want to do this as a partnership, and we need your help. I think it's a fantastic show. I look forward to doing the show, and I look forward to it because I think it's an outstanding show, and it deserves to keep growing, and we need to grow our fan base. So if you just tell one friend, and then they end up telling a friend, that's how you get to 1,000 subscribers. So help us out.
There you go, man. Heard it from Derek Irvin himself. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we had to restart. We had to do this whole refresh and rebrand type thing. So definitely, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers. Wow, and you run a podcast? Yeah, I run a podcast. Derek runs a podcast. We all run podcasts, but we want to get to that level. I don't want to get to the 4-letter network per se. I don't really want to be on ESPN because then I'm going to be told what to say, and I don't want to be told what to say. I don't want to kiss some booty or anything, Derek. I want to be able for us to talk to.
We want a new station, my man. This is 2024. We want them to create a station just for us.
Or we can create it ourselves. We're damn near doing it already. So, I mean, we can possibly do that on our own here. We're going to get to commercial break here in just a second. But real quick, Derek, if there's a player on the Heat that they want to give up for KD, who would that be?
Now, that's the question because you got to come get a package deal. You're going to start with Tyler Hero. And then you got, I think Caleb Martin is a good player. It would have to be 3 or 4. It would mainly be 1 or 2 players and then draft picks. But you know how Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra are very smart guys, man. And they do diligence, and they find ways to make it happen. As you know, today, though, we've got teams that are stacking up on draft picks. So you give up Hero, who I think is an all-star caliber player.
Would you give up Jaquez, though? Because I bet you that's one guy that they will.
They'll want Jaime. I would have to think about that, but hey, I have to be honest, man. If I could get Kevin Durant, I have to at least think about it seriously. I'm not saying I would do it. Maybe give up Jovic because that's another. Yeah, see, because I think he has a very high ceiling as well. So if you can give up a guy like Jovic, Tyler Hero, and then they sit down, man, and just try to figure it out, I think they can make it happen. But the key is KD ready to uproot? And I really think he is. I didn't think he liked the way things went last season. And I don't even really think he liked playing with the threesome with Bradley Beal. He didn't look happy at times. And, he checked out of games mentally. He started going to the corner and just standing there and letting Devin Booker and Bradley Beal do their things. One of them they took turns kind of like Luka and Kyrie. And I don't think KD liked that. He seemed to be the third guy out, and he didn't seem to enjoy it. And I've watched KD all over his career, and body language tells everything, and I just don't think he likes it in Phoenix anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that worked out very well. I think KD and Booker was working out fine when they brought in Bradley Beal. It was kind of a sour note for the Phoenix Suns. But something to think about. If Phoenix was actually running with Beal, Booker, and KD, and say they had CP3 to run the point, we would definitely be seeing a different Phoenix Suns team. It was the same problem that Milwaukee had. No point guard. That was the issue for both the teams. They figured You know what? Bradley can run point. Devin can run point. These guys have never ran point guard ever in their life. There's no sense. I mean, you saw the Sohan experiment. He never ran point guard. Milwaukee didn't have a point guard at all. I mean, that's the reason why a lot of these top teams that were kind of loaded just failed this past season. So is it different if they had a point guard? Probably so. Does that mean that the Phoenix Suns could go out there and maybe get a Kyle Lowry, Derek? Now, it helps them out as far as point guard goes.
I mean, I think Kyle is on the back end of his career as well. I really don't understand, after they gave up CP3, I didn't understand them giving up Cameron Payne.
Neither did I.
Because you see, he played well in the playoffs this year. And that was kind of baffling to me. You would give up a true point guard to bring in a guy, Bradley Beal, who was on really the worst season of his career. And they seem to sleep on that. This was not the Bradley Beal that we've seen over the past. Last season was the worst year he's had. His scoring average dropped, and I just didn't understand the move. And I bet you KD didn't understand it either.
No, it made no sense. I mean, KD was probably excited because they would have a third scorer, which would give them a very great tandem, a very great trio of scorers. But it makes no sense because no one is there to facilitate to these guys on the offensive side. That's what made it so difficult for Phoenix. This is Sweep the League. It's the Manic Monday edition of Sweep the League, NBA free agency. We're going to get into more talk because another name that was on the move was DeJounte Murray. How good are the Pelicans looking in the West? We're going to talk about that, as well as Clay to Dallas, Tobias making they get another payday in Detroit. Also, Paul George going to Philly, and we are not forgetting the CP3 talk for the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to get into all that here. This is our first commercial break. Derek Irvin, Rudy Campos here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here. We'll be back in just a little bit. Living in South Texas, we all love to eat, especially tacos. Oh boy, La Cocina Taco Truck should be your only stop every time. They are just a short drive away, located at 283 West San Antonio Street in New Braunfels, Texas. There is no order too big or small for the staff to handle. Whether it's the ever so popular street tacos all the way to the amazing quesadillas, La Cocina will satisfy your appetite, guaranteed. Head over to see them at 283 West San Antonio Street in New Braunfels, Texas. Make that short drive so you can be satisfied at La Cocina Taco Truck. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League. A family is just like your home. It starts with a great foundation. MCS General Contracting can make sure your foundation is off to a perfect start. Whether you're wanting to build a pool, expand a patio, or build a driveway, MCS General Contracting should be your only call. They provide top-notch customer service and will stand by their work 100% of the time. Why trust the rest when you can just call the best? Build the best foundation now for your home and your family, because a good foundation is the perfect start to a happy life. Contact MCS General Contracting today at 210-774-9155. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League. Digital. Yeah, welcome back to Sweep the League. Derek Gervin, Coach Gio, Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio should be back later on this week. We're only going to be going Monday, which is tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. We're going to be off for Thursday and Friday for 4th of July weekend. So we're going 3 days with you this week. Again, our Twitter page is at Sweep the League. YouTube, go to YouTube, set that subscribe button. All you got to do is search at Sweep the League TV on YouTube. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers here fast. Appreciate the 103 subscribers already subscribing to us. Hit that notification button for when we go live as well. This next segment is brought to you by MCS General Contracting, the absolute best in the business. Swimming pool, porch, patios, driveway, or that foundation to get your life your family, everything started. MCS General Contracting sponsors of Sweep the League. Contact Chris Leha out there for your building needs. Derek, speaking of building, this is the NBA off season. Sweep the League's the NBA free agency is already hit. So now MCS, it's sponsoring the segment. It's perfect because you're building rosters now in the off season, and it starts with the foundation. And it looks like teams are starting to lay it all down right now. One of them being the New Orleans Pelicans, making that trade for DeJounte Murray. And as it sits right now, you get DeJounte, but you end up losing Valanciunas, and that to me was a pretty big loss. Now, not to say that Brandon Ingram won't be able to get another big man in return if he's moved, but right now New Orleans is looking like one of those teams in the West that with one more move can probably go up into maybe the top 3 or 4 when it comes to the Western Conference.
Well, I think they have to make more than one move because I don't think Brandon Ingram's going to be there to start the season. And, of course, they have to replace Valanciunas. But you don't have those kind of centers just walking around. Andre Drummond signed with a different team. So I don't know. He goes to Philly. So how many guys are out there? You got Vucevic is out there. When you talk about starting centers, if you really go down the list, there's not a whole lot of starting centers out there. Steven Adams is, I think he'll be back 100% healthy to start the next year. But how many guys out there that you can really count in, DeAndre Jordan? He's no longer a starter. I know he re-signed in Denver. So that's going to be something they're going to have to figure out. Maybe they know something we don't. To give up Valanciunas means they must have been talking to some other teams and are going to try to make a big deal. I don't see them bringing in a Thomas Bryant type guy, not to be a starter. And so that's kind of weird to me. But once they make their moves, if you look at the rest of their roster with Herb Jones, and you got Trey Murphy the third, what's the little quick guard that always getting the steals in the court? Alvarado. So they have a good nucleus. They just got to figure out what they're going to do with the center position and Brandon Ingram. And maybe they won't trade Brandon Ingram. But if you don't, you still have to put that center spot. You got to look at it, man. OKC they got Hardenstein in there, right?
Yeah, that's another one we got to talk about.
Yeah, so you got somebody to go right next to Chet. So big Chet Holmgren can play his actual position, which is the 4. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep up with those guys, and you got to keep up with the Lakers who still having LeBron and Anthony Davis. There's going to be some more moves in New Orleans, and I'm sure right now that Swin Cash and the rest of the organization, they're doing their due diligence. But right now they look like a good team, but they get a big center, they could be a really good team. So yes, I can see them being in the top 4 if they get a nice center.
So, one team that I was looking at as far as, the Pelicans go, they're moving Brandon Ingram, and you're talking about a big man here. One team that could play a part into it, and I got to get to one of the comments here from Louis Luna. Louis Luna here is La Cocina Taco Truck. Derek, shout out to Louis Luna, man. Appreciate all that you do. Louis, I was actually out there this weekend, and I think we went a little bit too early to the food truck because I think we got there about 7:38, and I think it was a little too early.
Hey, Rudy?
Yeah, go ahead, Rudy.
You got to ask Louis, are they having barbecue sauce on the 4th of July that I can get on my tacos?
We got to get Louis to answer that question, man. What's up, Louis? Appreciate you joining us, man. We got you covered. I'm going to shoot you a text here after this as well as Chris Leha for MCS General Contracting. But yeah, I went this weekend and I thought, oh, man, I think I'm too early. You got to understand, I'm an old man, dude. I mean, some of these taco trucks are opening. They don't open till like 9 probably, and I'm already going to bed at that time. So I'm going to have to stay up super late this weekend so I can head over to the taco truck. But one team that I am looking at here, Derek, and it's one thing that I looked at. Now, New Orleans wants to move on from Brandon Ingram. And when they lost Valanciunas, I thought, okay, who would they contact for maybe a big man? Why don't they make that phone call to Portland? They've got a three-headed monster there in Ayton, Klingon, who was just drafted, and Denny. They also have Jeremy Grant there. So moving to Brandon Ingram for DeAndre Ayton doesn't sound sexy, but it makes up for losing Valanciunas right there. Could they possibly get a deal where you move Brandon Ingram and you get DeAndre Ayton and a possible player like Chris Murray? How does that strike for Portland and New Orleans, if that was even a deal that was even on the table?
I think it would be a good move, but the question is, how would DeAndre Ayton accept that move? Because it seems to me like Ayton wants to be an all-star, and he's an offensive player.
Yeah.
So would he sacrifice to play with the Zion and those guys, C.J. McCollum? I mean, they've got scores. DeJounte Murray, all those guys can get you 20 points if you need it. So if Ayton would just come out, to me, this is what Ayton should be. And I could be wrong. Maybe he thinks different than me. But I could see Ayton as a guy that gets you 10 to 12 points a night, right? Mm-hmm. And that 12, and really if he played that way, 12 to 13 rebounds. I really think he's capable of that. But to do that, he's got to get under the basket. He spends a lot of time at the free throw area, wanting to shoot that jump shot, that mid-range jump shot. And I don't think that would benefit the Pelicans. I think they would need him to be more of a grind type guy. I'm just thinking, you got my head just spinning. I'm just thinking what he could be, Rudy. But sometimes to win,
you run gun team.
Say it again.
It's a run and gun team if you add Ayton.
Yeah, so now they run it, but to win, you got to sacrifice sometime. And it looks like he hasn't been willing to sacrifice, and that's why he left out of Phoenix. Yeah. If you remember, he was upset with Monty Williams because he wanted more shots. And he wanted to be on the floor more, and he didn't want to play the role that they wanted him to play. And then you move him to Portland, he started talking again about being the all-star, and I don't think that's what they expect from him. They got these new guys. They got Scoot Henderson. You got Shaden Sharp and all these guys, Jeremy Grant. That's not the role they want him to play. They want him to be more of a rim protector. And then when you get the open shots, you knock down your jump shot. If he would do that, which would mean sacrifice again, I could see him helping the Pelicans alone, really a lot. But you got to come outside of yourself sometime and do what's best for the team. And if he was willing to do that, I really think he could help the Pelicans.
What are the chances of possibly seeing Brandon Ingram even traded? And this is kind of weird. It's another off team here, but it doesn't solve their big man situation, but it could, because say they contact Washington where Valanciunas just went. I mean, Washington's looking to get rid of either Kuzma or Poole. So you can do a flip-flop for Kuzma and Poole, see if Washington's willing to part ways with the Rashawn Holmes. I mean, it's somebody that you can get as a big man, but again, if you're going to kind of be in a run and gun situation, maybe getting a Kyle Kuzma along with these guys would be a little bit better than going for the big man spot. But again, these are teams. I mean, I thought maybe Orlando, but Orlando's got nobody they want to give up for Brandon Ingram right now.
I got another team, and I think this would benefit both teams. Why not give a shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Jared Allen?
Yes. Because what was Cleveland's problem in the playoffs? Scoring, isn't it?
Yeah, it was scoring.
So you get a Brandon Ingram. You're bringing in a 20-some point scorer because you're probably going to lose Garland.
So I don't know, because the speculation is out there that both Garland and Mitchell are probably going to stay. That's speculation.
Garland, that's something I have to see to believe it, because Garland was basing everything off what they were going to do with Donovan Mitchell. And he had stated a couple months ago, last month, that he wanted to be moved if they were going to re-sign Donovan Mitchell. He wants more. He wants a bigger role. And I don't think he's going to get that. So I could still see them. Why not give up Jared Allen, and why not a Garland? Because C.J. McCollum, today you can go small ball, right?
Yeah, you can.
But Cleveland needs a scorer like a Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, a lot of people don't give him the credit, Rudy, but he's not. I'm not going to say he's on KD's level. But Brandon Ingram is a guy that he's been compared to Kevin Durant. He's a guy that can get you some points. And I think that move will work out for both teams. Jared Allen, you get that guy who I'm talking about, that rim protector, a guy that's not worried about scoring. He just wants to be a part of the team, and he wants to win. And so I think that would be a trade that would be beneficial for both teams.
Yeah, and I think we even talked about Brandon Ingram to Cleveland before free agency started, and that made kind of sense for them. Jared Allen back into New Orleans, Brandon Ingram to Cleveland. That makes a lot of sense. There's really not a lot of teams that you can move Brandon Ingram to where you're going to get, a big man in return. And as Tim saying, Mo Bamba has signed with the Clippers for a 1-year deal. Another guy that could have easily fit in over in New Orleans as well. But that's kind of the lookout with the Brandon Ingram situation. But again, New Orleans with the DeJounte Murray trading, that's huge for them. I like their chances here. Again, we're not saying even Memphis, because Memphis was decimated with injuries last year. That's another team that's going to come back healthy. And they're another team to watch there. But one of the teams that's just fresh off of the NBA Finals is the Dallas Mavericks. You saw the potential with the Mavericks and PJ Washington and Lively. They had, Kyrie finally bought in now. Now they get, they end up losing Tim Hardaway Jr., I believe.
And Derek Jones.
And Derek Jones. So they made up for it in a shooter with Klay Thompson, a veteran shooter, Klay Thompson, a guy who has won titles with the Warriors. He can bring that winning attitude to Dallas. Is it enough to get them over the hump, though, is the question in the Western Conference. It's still not enough to make me take them over Boston right now, but I do think it helps them in the West more than anything.
Yeah, but if you look at other than Kyrie and Luka, when they go to the bench, what about the guard who's really backing up Luka? That's a question for me. And, they're not that strong in the backcourt. And if you see, I like Dante Exum, but I don't think he's that guy that really gets them over the hump. And they're going to have to make another move, maybe in the backcourt and the front court. They might have to make 2 moves. I like Gafford. I like P.J. Washington. But when you lose a Derek Jones, a guy who brings a lot of energy, very athletic, he can defend, you got to replace him with someone. And so they've done their due diligence in replacing Hardaway with Klay. But I think they still need another wing guy that could compete on both ends, like the one from Herb Jones and Trey Murphy Jr.
Yeah.
Dallas needs that kind of player. So they're not finished yet. I think they still got a move or 2 left. But I'm going to count Dallas in because we saw, you got to be honest, they still have Luka Doncic. And it's not like he's going to fall off the cliff over the summer. So I think they need to make another move or 2. But I like the way Dallas is looking right now. It's going to be rough, Rudy. All these teams you're talking about, man, think about that.
We haven't even hit.
We can't sleep at night if we're general managers. You don't want to fall behind, man.
It's tough. I'm going to throw a name out there because we love talking about the names here for NBA free agency. One guy who's probably not going to return to his team, especially after you saw Derek White signing and Jason Tatum. What would a guy like Sam Hauser do for the Dallas Mavericks?
Oh, boy. Are you kidding me? That's an excellent move because we know he can shoot the ball. Mm-hmm. And Sam actually has gotten better over the last year or 2 as far as going off the dribble if he has to. When he first came in, he was Duncan Robinson 2.0. You hear me? Shoot the jump shot. But then you see how guys improve. He's worked hard, just like Duncan Robinson. So I don't want people to take it wrong because Duncan, if we saw in the playoffs, also was going off the dribble. Yeah. And that's something that wasn't familiar with him. You know who started that, don't you, Rudy? Making these guys realize how they couldn't just be 3-point specialists. I'm going to give him a shout-out because it started in San Antonio. A guy by the name of Danny Green.
Danny Green, yeah.
And he's in that corner, and then they started pressuring him, making him put it on the floor, and he worked on his game. I saw the same thing with Duncan Robinson, and I see the same thing with Sam Hauser. I think that would be nothing but a great addition for the Dallas Mavericks. You get a guy that can shoot the ball, and I think, playing with Luka, you're standing a lot. So you got to be able to catch and shoot. And I think Sam Hauser is a really good catch-and-shoot guy. I think he would be an excellent addition for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, Sam Hauser going to the Mavericks, if that's even possible for them to do would make them it would definitely keep Dallas probably in that 1-2 range. You know what? No, 2 or 3 range, only because the next team we're going to talk about here just a little bit definitely takes the top spot for you and I here. But one more team I want to get into before we hit to the OKC, then we go into San Antonio Spurs talk, is the Paul George move to Philadelphia. Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid right now. Tobias Harris is brought up because he moved on to Detroit. He secured the bag. He got a good payday with Detroit, bring some veteran leadership to Detroit, something that team desperately needs. But with Paul George now pretty much a Philadelphia 76er, once teams are able to sign players, that move right there pushes Philadelphia up. But man, Derek, is it wrong of me to think that I still have, a knot in my stomach because I still can't trust Joel to stay healthy, man?
Well, I got to say this, because even healthy, I still would have Boston and the Knicks ahead of them.
Yeah.
And the reason I would have the Knicks ahead of them is not even because of Embiid. I love Paul George. But when you got a guy like Anunoby that you could throw at Paul George, and then you could throw Mikal Bridges at Paul George.
Yeah.
You even for periods of the game, you could throw Josh Hart at Paul George. That makes the Knicks a tough team. And I think the Knicks have something up their sleeve. To lose Isaiah Hartenstein, that's huge.
Yes.
But the Knicks have been on the upswing. So I'm going to give Mr. Leon Rose and all those guys some credit. Thibodeau. They got something up their sleeves that we don't know about yet. I don't think they're ready to take a step backwards. I think they're ready to take a step forward. So with those two teams, I would have Boston and I would have them over Philly right now. Okay, the Knicks would be my second team. Paul George and Embiid, we talked about it. If they're healthy, and that's a big if. It seems like every year people talk about Anthony Davis all the time, and they named him street clothes and all of that, which I thought was unjust because he's a hell of a player. But Embiid is pretty much the same thing. It seems like he gets a lot of nicks and bruises, and it's every year. And I think, is it because he falls on the floor so much, Rudy? Well, I mean, it just seems like every time you see him, he's on the floor. For a guy that big, he spends a lot of time on the floor.
Yeah.
And
he does.
I think that's why he gets hurt, man. Guys that I just think he spends way too much time. But a healthy Embiid and Paul George will definitely move the needle. But they still got to, figure out the rest of the guys that are going to be around them.
Well, let's remember they also are. They've also got into talks, and they actually pretty much secured Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond in Philadelphia. So Drummond can spell Embiid a whole lot. So you may not see Embiid play a lot of these minutes that he's used to playing. Get him some extra rest. And Eric Gordon, I mean, the traveler himself, one of the NBA nomads, man, because he travels everywhere in the NBA. He's going to bring, some outside shooting to that team that's going to be way beneficial for these guys. Does that mean that guys like Buddy Hield is probably not going to be, with Philadelphia? We talked about Kyle Lowry as another one. I mean,
Kelly Oubre.
I think Oubre actually is re-signing with the Sixers. Let me get that.
I hope they keep him. I figured one of them. I figured one of them would go. And you know what's kind of sad to me on a personal level, Rudy, is because Tobias Harris' dad, Terrell, was representing Tobias, and he was representing Kelly Oubre. But at the beginning of last season, Kelly Oubre got a new agent, a new company to start representing him. So it's kind of weird for me to see Tobias go and Kelly stay. But Kelly had a really good year. If you remember the year before, he sat out. They didn't pick him up until, I think, once the new year started. Mm-hmm. And teams were kind of upset because he shot 32% from three. But he rebounded this past year. He had a really good season. So I think, they got to keep him. Plus, he can defend.
Yeah, that's true. Murray, kid from Kings to the Mavericks.
So it comes down to Embiid being healthy and then Paul George being healthy. That's the key.
Yeah, Murray's not going to go anywhere from the Kings to the Mavericks.
No way. No, nobody's giving up on Keegan Murray.
Too popular for that. One big man that's still out there, Derek, is a guy that you and I have talked about in past years is James Wiseman.
I was going to say him for New Orleans, though.
I was going to say him to New Orleans might actually be beneficial, I think. If it's going to be kind of a running team with DeJounte, having Zion go up and down the floor, Wiseman might be a pretty good, and he could be an inexpensive problem solver for New Orleans.
If you could can you get Wiseman and keep Brandon Ingram?
I think so.
If they could do that, the reason I didn't mention Wiseman to the Pelicans, because I thought they might have to give up an Ingram or something. But if you look at the salaries and all that, they should be able to keep Brandon Ingram. But you know how I feel about James Wiseman, man. I think he gets a raw deal. He got one in Golden State, and I think he's getting one in Detroit. I really do. I like Jalen Duren, but I'm a Wiseman guy, and I think Wiseman is maturing. And, part of it is age, and then part of it is just finding your niche. And I think a team like the Pelicans would welcome him with open arms, and then you would have your guy who can run the floor like a young David Robinson, and you would also have your guy who's a rim protector. So that's another move that Swin Cash might be at least contemplating.
It's just got to possibly be contemplating that. It makes a lot of sense for New Orleans there, especially with I don't think they let Valanciunas walk unless, like you said, they have something in their back pocket already. It could be Wiseman for all we know. It could be part of an Ingram deal. We'll find out. Before we go to commercial break, Derek, we got to get to the big one here. The biggest signing, in my opinion and your opinion, is leading to me, and I don't make my pick until, right before preseason, because I got to see how all this free agency stuff works out. But right now, Oklahoma City, now they were able to re-sign Aaron Wiggins, which I think was key for them. But the biggest signing they had was, we've talked about, you have to get somebody who is a true center for Oklahoma City. And they got probably the best big man, in my opinion, and yours, out there at free agency in Hardenstein. That right there shows you that Sam Presti knows what the hell he is doing in Oklahoma City.
Hey, I did a Ric Flair when they got him. Woo! Man, I'm telling you. And the good thing for Hardenstein is not only he gets to go to a team that wins, but if you remember, they were projecting him to be in the $17 to $20 million range.
Yeah.
He got $29 million a year. And I think he earned it. If you look at him, sometimes things just fall into place. I hate that he had to earn the money, by Mitchell Robinson being hurt. But still, things happen like that. It's a business. Mitchell Robinson goes down. Hardenstein steps into the starting lineup, and the Knicks become a better team immediately. But right now today, if we were picking teams, and OKC looking so dangerous, and then you add Alex Caruso. Can't leave him out. That's a team that people are going to have to be watching out for right from the beginning of the season. They would be my favorite. If we were to pick today, I wouldn't be picking the Minnesota Timberwolves. I wouldn't be picking the Nuggets, the Lakers, any of them. I would be picking the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti has done an outstanding job, and I got to give him his flowers, as they say.
Yeah, Sam Presti is really turning it around in Oklahoma City, bringing in Alex Caruso. Again, even the Aaron Wiggins re-signing of him, it just makes a lot of sense for this team.
Joe, just think about that. Lou Dort, man, you're talking about a lineup. They can play small ball, or they can go with size now with Hardenstein and Big Chet. That's a dangerous team. And they have youth, and now they have some experience. That's a dangerous team.
Man, when you know what it reminds me of, Derek, when you and I were so high on Denver before they won that title that year, and how we said how deep, and they can go 8, 9, 10 deep, and you're seeing Oklahoma City getting to that point. Look how far you have to go down the roster for Cason Wallace.
Right, I was just going to mention him, and you know how big I am on Cason. His brother went to UTSA. Shout out to Keaton Wallace. Yeah, Kason is going to be right in there. He's going to play a lot of minutes this year, and that's a dangerous team. They're going to move. Kason's going to play a lot of point guard, and they're going to move Shea to the 2 a lot. That's a really, you got Jalen Williams. Come on, man. Right now, I don't think any team can match their roster.
No.
Including Boston.
Yeah, it's going to be tough right now. If I was a betting man, I would definitely bet the house on Oklahoma City. Again, barring injuries, we know injuries happen, but barring injuries, Oklahoma City probably is number one on our Sweep the League power rankings. It's Derek Gervin. It's Rudy Campos Jr. We got one more segment. That one's going to be brought to you by La Cocina Taco Truck. When we get back, it's all Spurs talk, Derek. Everybody's been waiting for the Spurs talk. We're hearing Lauri Markkanen, the guy that we've been talking about for a few years already, and CP3 is now in silver and black. Why the negativity? We're going to have to get into that here when we get back here on Sweep the League. It's Derek Gervin. It's Rudy Campos Jr. We'll be right back. A family is just like your home. It starts with a great foundation. MCS General Contracting can make sure your foundation is off to a perfect start. Whether you're wanting to build a pool, expand a patio, or build a driveway, MCS General Contracting should be your only call. They provide top-notch customer service and will stand by their work 100% of the time. Why trust the rest when you can just call the best? Build the best foundation now for your home and your family, because a good foundation is the perfect start to a happy life. Contact MCS General Contracting today at 210-774-9155. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League. Living in South Texas, we all love to eat, especially tacos. Oh boy, La Cocina Taco Truck should be your only stop every time. They are just a short drive away, located at 283 West San Antonio Street in New Braunfels, Texas. There is no order too big or small for the staff to handle. Whether it's the ever so popular street tacos all the way to the amazing quesadillas, La Cocina will satisfy your appetite, guaranteed. Head over to see them at 283 West San Antonio Street in New Braunfels, Texas. Make that short drive so you can be satisfied at La Cocina Taco Truck. Proud sponsors of Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweet the League Radio.
Yeah, welcome back to Sweep the League. Derek Gervin, Rudy Campos Jr. I think Derek knows George, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to George Gervin, obviously brother of Derek Gervin, Iceman himself, for the shout out to Sweep the League there. And if you're not seeing things, there wasn't a ghost, it wasn't a fake image or anything. The Sweep the League's merchandise store is actually coming this weekend, I believe. So we're launching a little store. Fresh off the press, you can order your Sweep the League t-shirts, among other items that are going to be soon to be on the store. So watch out for the Sweep the League store. That's coming out here for merch as well. Shout out to MCS General Contracting, Special Leaf Tea, and La Cocina Taco Truck. This next segment is sponsored by La Cocina Taco Truck. Louis and his staff are guaranteed to give you the absolute best street tacos and quesadillas. You know what? There's no order too big, too small for Louis and his staff out of La Cocina Taco Truck. It's in New Braunfels, but you know what? San Antonio and New Braunfels are so close. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's a short drive to keep you satisfied. It is La Cocina Taco Truck, proud sponsors of Sweep the League. And you know what? Their Spurs fans are hungry. So again, great segment from La Cocina Taco Truck to Spurs basketball. Spurs fans have been hungry, man. They're hungry, thinking that Wemby is going to be gone if they don't make moves and they don't win now. I still don't buy that. You've got Wemby for 8 years because it's 2 contracts. But nonetheless, first agenda on the iPad, on the pad here basically is this. CP3 has is going to sign a 1-year deal at $11 million. And it goes back to NBA draft night. They traded the number 8 pick, Rob Dillingham, to Minnesota. People were pissed off about that. You gave me a 2030 and a 2031 first-round pick. That cleared up $7 million. CP3 signed for $11 million. So essentially, They basically are paying him just $4 million, if you think about it, because of the trade with Rob Dillingham. And it's a 1-year deal. It's so high reward, low risk. You don't have to worry about what happens this year. And before I give you the mic on it, I want people to know, because I see media people, I see other podcasters, I see a lot of people asking the question, how does this help the rebuild? It doesn't. It's 1 year. So it doesn't do anything for a rebuild other than it gives you a floor general, a coach on the floor, a veteran, someone who's made the playoffs, 15 out of 19 times in his career, one of the best point guards in the league. It has nothing to do with a rebuild. It's about learning. It's about teaching these kids the next step into being a great franchise. The floor is yours, Derek. CP3 to Spurs.
Not much I can say behind that because you just covered it. Look, man, I have CP3 in the top 5 point guards all time, and I want people to hear this quickly. I'm a Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson, Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton, and Chris Paul guy. And the guy is called point guard for a reason. We know he's up in age, but so is a LeBron James, so is a Steph Curry, they're all getting up in age. That's just how the life goes. But you're bringing in a guy that's a leader, and he's a professional. He could teach these guys how to be professional, how to go about their jobs. Sometimes you need that one guy to come in that's actually playing. You have Manu and all those guys, Tony Parker, you got Dave Robinson, Tim. Those guys are not players anymore.
Yeah.
So they bring a lot of positivity, but they're not in the locker room every day. You got a proven winner. You just said 15 out of 19 years. My math tells me that's about 77% out of my head.
Yeah. So why the hate? I mean, what's the reason for people?
Can I say why?
Yeah.
The people want to win right now, and that's not realistic.
No, it's not.
The Spurs are not winning the championship, even if they bring in Lauri Markkanen this year. That makes them a better team. But that's not a championship team.
Yeah.
So you got to take one step at a time. You're bringing in a guy that's teaching Victor how to be even more of a professional, and not just Victor. The other guys, the Sohans, the Devin Vassell's. That's why Golden State brought him in. Do you think a 4-time champion would bring in a guy such as Chris Paul if it wasn't for the right reasons? Even with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, they still brought in a 38-year-old Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And that's because he's a locker room presence. He's a guy that knows how to win games. It's not his fault they didn't win with the Clippers. I know it's a team thing, but every team he's been to, hasn't he made them a better team?
Every team that I've seen.
So right now, all we're trying to do is become a better team. It's one step at a time. And you don't pass up a Chris Paul. Remember, folks, it's a 1-year deal. He's a rental. He's a rental. So you put the rest of the pieces in place. But next year is coming. Castle will have another year of experience. He'll have a year of experience. And then you go out and get a De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
So think about that. If you have a Lauri Markkanen and you have a De'Aaron Fox, that's not a bad team to have, is it?
No, with some guy named Wemby in the back.
You got a possible De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan. You got Wemby. Who am I leaving out? I'm leaving out one.
More than likely, Keldon would be gone by then.
Keldon would be gone. Keldon would be gone. But you got Wemby and Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
Just that alone.
Yeah. Now, before we go to the next part of the Spurs part, I did want to mention that Jeff Garcia, our good buddy from Locked On Spurs, I was on today's show talking about Chris Paul. Jeff made this comparison about Chris Paul, saying it reminds him a lot of when Mario Elie came to the San Antonio Spurs. He brought the toughness. He brought that new attitude that the players, not necessarily the overall team or the coach staff, it was the players needed. They needed that one teammate to get in their face and tell them when they're doing something wrong, when they're in the wrong position on the floor, when they need to do this. And that's the general that they needed. I kind of said, you know what? I don't want to copy the Mario Elie thing. but it reminded me a lot of when Speedy Claxton came to San Antonio for that year. Same thing. Tony, was having some issues, and Speedy was able to close out the finals for them, but he was a learning curve for Tony Parker. That's what Pop does. He brings in these savvy, legendary veterans to help out the squad.
Hey, Rudy, and I love Speedy too. The difference between Speedy and Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not always about numbers. A lot of people that talk about the game but don't really study the game, all they talk about are numbers. He's not going to get us 18 points. He's not going to get us that. He doesn't have to. That won't be his role. His role is to get other guys in position so they can do those things. But one thing about CP3 is he still can knock down the mid-range jumper. He still can knock down the occasional three. He's a solid player, and he sets screens like a John Stockton. He's a tough guy, and he's going to point and get guys in position. That includes a Wembanyama. He doesn't care who they are. And that's what the Spurs need this year. One step at a time, people. Be patient. The object is to get better. You bring in Chris Paul, you're not going to be worse than last year. So you're already on the right track. You're taking a step up.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Joey's comment real quick. One last thing on Chris Paul for me was last year, the Spurs team and their growth and their development, majority of their games, they were ahead going into the fourth a lot of times, and they blew that lead. Why? Because of turnovers. They didn't have a guy who could take care of the ball and run the team late in the game. Chris Paul has one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the game. He knows how to take care of the ball. That's the type of player you need in winning time, because that'll add the extra 4 to 5 wins to your season. And ideally, the way the team is set up right now, if they make no more moves, I clearly have them in the 29 to 30 win range right now. Still around the 28, 29. I'm going to go with 29 to be safe. Doesn't add a whole lot more victories, but it still adds more victories. If they added Lauri Markkanen, which we'll get into in a minute here, then yeah, it's going to add into the 30s easily for this team. But that was my take on the Chris Paul thing. Joey's in here. Should the Spurs go after Devin Booker next year if the Suns lose in the first round again and we land 2 top 25 picks? Now, that's the key for next year. Even if they go and get a Lauri Markkanen this season and they're able to, finagle Danny Ainge into trading Lauri to San Antonio, you're obviously going to sign Lauri to a max deal in San Antonio. But what I love is the fact if you don't have to give up multiple 2025 picks, I mean, you're going to have a good amount of young talent on rookie contracts where you can go get a Markkanen. And you know what, Derek? It's very possible you can still go get a Devin Booker to go along with a Markkanen, a Wemby. And who's to say you still don't have the option to keep CP3 another year? Or like you mentioned, the De'Aaron Fox. The window is basically blowing wide open for the Spurs in 2025.
Hey, Rudy, do you remember when we first did the show in the studio?
Yeah.
The first time I met you, you and I sat down. Do you remember that?
I do.
And we were trying to talk about who was the best Spur in the backcourt. Well, not even backcourt, Keldon or Devin Vassell.
Yeah.
Do you remember who I picked?
It was Devin because I picked him.
Yeah. Why are people sleeping on Devin Vassell? We still haven't seen the best of Devin Vassell yet. And the reason I say that is because if I can get De'Aaron Fox, I don't need Devin Booker. I got a backcourt of De'Aaron Fox and Devin Vassell. And I think that's a better move because I think Vassell is a better defender than Booker.
Yeah.
And I think he's more of a team player than Booker, to be honest about it.
It makes sense.
Phoenix put Booker in that point guard mentality, but that didn't work, as we found out. Devin Vassell is a guy that knows his role. They didn't get him a new contract for no reason.
Yeah.
If I can keep him, I don't need a Devin Booker. I want a Lauri Markkanen, and I want a De'Aaron Fox. I've already told you, 2025, 2026, De'Aaron Fox is going to be a San Antonio Spur.
You keep saying it, and it's going to happen. I already know. People need to start listening to Sweep the League a lot for Derek and myself, because we tend to say a lot of things that are going to probably coming up. Do we have a magic crystal ball? I have no idea. I don't. I just, I have a gut instinct.
Did I say for 2 years? For 2 years that Anthony was out? Did I say for 2 years Portland Trailblazers? I didn't know you then. But I don't even know if you're reading. But the people that know me on Facebook, I was saying that Carmelo could have been a Portland Trailblazer. After his 2-year hiatus, what team did he go to?
Portland.
So I know a little bit. I don't claim to be the smartest guy, but I just try to put 2 and 2 together. And then I explained to you why I thought De'Aaron Fox would be here. His wife is from here, for one.
Yeah.
He loves it here. He just flew in 2 young ladies last week to work at his camp. Where are they from? San Antonio, 2 high school young ladies. He has a lot of ties to San Antonio, and I could see him wanting to send Pop out with a bang.
Yeah, I mean, the De'Aaron Fox, San Antonio, and it makes sense because he hasn't signed that extension, and he's not going to sign it. So Rudy has that Back to the Future Sports Almanac. It always comes through. If I had that almanac, I'd probably be rich right now, and we'd be having these big studios and everything. So, no, I don't have that. I've gotten lucky the last 2 championships for the NBA, and then picking the Spurs at 22 wins. I got lucky on that one too. But nonetheless, man, De'Aaron Fox in 2025, again, the whole Chris Paul thing, it's a 1-year deal. You are paying, and it's not a disrespect to Chris Paul, but you're basically paying peanuts for Chris Paul because the deal is not. It's way better than team friendly. It's $11 million to where you've traded $7 million away at the Rob Dillingham move. So essentially, it's just $4 million coming out of pocket, considering if you would have kept Dillingham, that's $7 million right there. So there's the point guard situation. It's figured out for a season. Again, 1-year deal means 2025. De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. Derek's been calling it for a while. We're going to ride with that here. De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs. Last subject, man. Again, this segment's brought to you by La Cocina Taco Truck, is the Lauri Markkanen moves. Now, the Warriors and Spurs are rumored to be the 2 favorites to try, basically to land Lauri. Danny Ainge has basically come out and said, we're really probably not going to trade him, which again, Ainge is Ainge, man. He says something and it doesn't really mean, it's usually the opposite, which means, we're trying.
They weren't going to trade Isaiah Thomas either. So. and et cetera.
The thing is that latest rumors that I've seen is that Ainge is stuck on one player that you mentioned, and that's Devin Vassell. He really wants Devin in this move. That is a very tough sell when it comes to trading for Lauri Markkanen, because if you know me, Derek, which you do, we're like best friends, you know me, I have that move on the table. Does Devin move the needle with this team more than what Lauri would move the needle for this team? Now, the Spurs are trying to give up Keldon in exchange for Lauri, but Ainge is a way smarter GM than that. He knows if you really want Lauri Markkanen and you don't want to lose a lot of these draft picks, you're going to give me a player that benefits me now, and that would be Devin Vassell. How hard is it to make a move on that? And do you really feel that we're going to see Lauri in San Antonio some way, somehow?
Well, first they have to try to remind Danny that Keldon Johnson was pretty much all-star level 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And what team did he play with all the best players in the league? Didn't they add Keldon Johnson into that mix?
Yeah, he did.
So,
Team USA.
If I'm trying to, come on, let's go have a drink, Danny. Let's go sit down and talk. I really don't want to give up Devin, but I'm going to be honest. If we had to, then I'm looking at possibly the Devin Booker thing, but we got to have Lauri Markkanen. It's not too many guys I would pass. If I get Lauri Markkanen, I mean, all deals might be off the table as far as keeping Devin and whoever. Yeah. Lauri Markkanen is going to continue to ascend. And what does he have? He has length. He also has athleticism, and he could flat out shoot the ball. Yeah. So if I had to give up Devin, I would probably be sad about it, kind of like the Warriors giving up Klay Thompson. But as we know, it's a business. So if I had to give up Devin and I had no other choice, I would have to say, Devin, I want to wish you good luck on your way to Utah. But let's get the Brinks truck for Laurie Markkinen or whatever we got to go get. Let's go get the Mayflower. If we have to move them ourselves, Rudy and I, let's go get Laurie Markkinen.
I'll do it. I've never been to Utah, but I would definitely make the drive to help Laurie move to San Antonio. If we've got to take out a loan, we could probably hit up like Randolph Brooks or somebody and see if we can maybe get a small loan and just say, hey, we'll pay it back within time. We'll pay it back for the Laurie Markkinen type move. But Tim Gonzalez, Derek has a question before we go. It's Derek Irvin. I've been wanting to ask you this question. You play the game. You've been in the players' shoes. Talk about the family for them to relocate to another city. How hard is it for them?
Well, Tim, that's an excellent question. I mean, that's top notch. It's hard, and I could take one guy. Just look at how Damian Lillard struggled at first. A lot of it had to do because his family didn't come from the beginning. And, a lot of times, sometimes guys work on it with the wives or whatever. You know how the family situation could be. But if you could find schools early over the summer and do your due diligence and find the right schools, that makes it a little easier, but it's never easy for the kids because they've developed friendships, and so has the family. And then when you have to uproot, man, it's kind of like me leaving Detroit. I loved where I was at. I was with all my friends, and then I had to leave all my friends and come down here with my family because my brother was here. So it was hard for my mom. We had to make an adjustment. We're used to one lifestyle in Detroit. And then when we come to San Antonio, it was a total culture shock for me. But it was a good thing because it slowed me down. So the key is, what kind of team are you going to? If you're going to a team that has an opportunity to win and you can find nice schools for your kids, that's nothing but a positive. But it's never an easy adjustment when you're going from one place that you're familiar with, like a Klay Thompson. Klay and his family are going to have to make adjustments moving to Dallas. Dallas is a fantastic city, but Klay is used to being in Oakland and then moving to San Francisco. So he only moved across the Golden Gate Bridge, but now he's moving across the country basically. And it's not going to be easy at first. But when you got the organization and the players and they welcome you with open arms and you develop a relationship with those guys and you spend time with those guys, it makes the move a lot easier. And the happier you are, that seems to be a lot easier. That makes the kids a lot more relaxed. And then they don't mind uprooting. If you're going to a team, Washington Wizards, it makes it hard. If you're going to a team that's a contender, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and Klay's not exactly going to one of the bottom feeders in the league. I mean, he's going to a team that just is fresh off of an NBA Finals appearance. So it makes it a lot easier when you're going from, being a successful teammate in Golden State to now, again, a team, like we said, just out of the finals in Dallas. It makes it a lot easier. And you're going with two players that that will keep you, staying relevent with your shooting. I mean,
Rudy, I want to say one thing, and I mean this sincerely. He's not leaving the city, but did you hear what Deuce said to Jason Tatum?
No, I did not.
When your kids are on board, man, he told Jason Tatum, even though he didn't get MVP, he said, "You're the best in the world. You're the greatest." That's what he told his dad. And so when you see your dad happy, it makes it easier for the kids because they have all the faith in you. And when you got that kind of situation, it makes uprooting a lot easier. There could be a positive situation and it could be a negative. But when you got kids that just love dad and they don't care if you're winning, they don't care. But when they supportive, it makes the move easier for the entire family.
It sure does, man. It sure does. So, that was a great question by Tim. And again, I appreciate everybody joining us here on a Manic Monday. We covered as much NBA free agency as we could for you guys. I want to give everybody a shout out. We are 100+ strong on YouTube. Again, go to our YouTube page, subscribe, hit that notification button. Just go to www.youtube.com. Everybody knows that. Go to YouTube, do @SweepTheLeagueTV, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1K now. We got to 100 pretty quick. I would think it was like right at 30 days, we got to 100. So if we can average that, we'll be at the 1K and no problem in no time at all, which means you'll be getting a whole lot more. Shout out to Harry out there on X. He's going to be getting something from one of our sponsors for being the 100th subscriber. but we've got a whole lot more for you guys out there, man. I appreciate everybody joining us here. We're ending the stream with 116 strong on the stream. I appreciate you guys on a manic Monday. Remember, we're only on today, tomorrow, Wednesday. We're going to be off Thursday, Friday for 4th of July. Follow me on X. It's at Sweep the League on X. You can hit me and Derek up on Facebook. Just search us on there. You know, we talk basketball on there as well. So for Derek Irvin, for Rudy Campos Jr., again, shout out to MCS General Contracting. Shout out to La Cocina Taco Truck and Special Leaf Tea. Special Leaf's getting a brand new commercial too. Not only that, Derek, holy cow, man. We're going to give Specially a brand new commercial, but the merch is coming. The Sweep the League t-shirts are coming. That's going to be coming out here very, very soon. As a matter of fact, I believe it's this weekend or starting next week. You'll be able to get a Sweep the League t-shirt among other things as well. So tons of stuff coming. And also, forgot, man, we're taking phone calls hopefully this week. We got everything in line to start taking phone calls. So you guys that want to call in and, you know, tell me how much Gio sucks on the microphone and how much he's terrible, you can say whatever you want, man. Whatever you want. JC says move 14 times before 18 years old. Wow. Attitude matters 100%. Always portray positivity. Shout out to JC, that Special Leaf right there, man. Special Leaf Tea. So for Derek Gervin, for Rudy Campos Jr., until we sweep the league again tomorrow, we'll see you later, knuckleheads.
Have a good night.